What is going on, guys? It's JackUltraMotive here, and I'm here with the head of Horizon 4.
I'm Fulton, I'm the creative director on the game.
Yeah, so I'd start out by saying, how does it feel to have this setting of your brand new game take place in your backyard here at Britain?
It's brilliant, actually. It's been a weird 2 years, actually, making a game in the place that you live.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Because we always do like exotic places, like overseas places, Australia and south of France and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, it's a place we go and we take photographs and then we try and recreate it from those. But we know this place so well. It's been kind of a labour of love for us, I guess.
Yeah.
But I couldn't be more happy with how it's worked out. Like, I think the world looks brilliant. I love reading reviews where people are like, wow, Britain looks better than it's ever looked before.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm like,
I agree.
Cool, that's a good thing.
It gives it kind of a realistic advantage over the other games, and especially helps on like adding to improve, you know, on your graphics and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could have it spot on. I had kind of a funny question that I was wondering, because I was playing the game, and I was wondering if you were the voice of Alex in the game.
You're not.
Sorry, I'm Alex. I run dirt racing for the festival.
You're not the first person to ask me that. I can exclusively reveal that I am not the voice of Alex. We weren't that hard up for a voiceover budget that we had to get me to. He is just another Scotsman. Right?
I know.
You know, so
happens to have around the same tone.
Apparently, yes. Yeah. It would seem that that's the case. Yes, but there are actually many of us in Scotland. Like, there's a few of us.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's good to know. It's just one of the things that I most likely, didn't think it was the case, but at the same time, I just had to know myself. So.
I'm glad to clear that up. Hopefully people will stop tweeting me now.
Exactly. Hopefully they see this. I was also wondering, what was your difference in physics for this game? How does this game feel different than Horizon 3?
So I think, I'd love to hear what you think. I think we make real improvements across the whole range and breadth of cars that we have in the game, in the physics and the handling and the feedback as well. Yeah. I think what you'll notice this time is the real improvements that the guys have been making in terms of the types of tyre that we have in the game, the range of tyres we have in the game, and also suspension as well. And the way you'll notice that, I think, is in the increased range of ways that different cars handle different surface types, different types of terrain. Yeah. So that old thing about taking a supercar off-road, in 4, I think it's much harder than it was in 3, and again, it's harder than 2.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing.
It is.
It's like it's an authenticity point. It makes you think about your car choice for different events, and really, hopefully, encourages you to go out and use as much of the 450 cars that are in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So would you say it's, in your opinion, closer to FM7 or FH3 in terms of how it feels to drive certain cars?
So I still think Horizon is a very different beast in terms of the way the cars need to feel and need to respond to motorsport. Thinking about, it's easy to think about them both as Forza games and thus both having sort of similar handling, but really the demands you put on a car in Horizon are very different from the demands you put on motorsport.
True.
On a racing circuit, in a much more sort of simulation oriented game. So I still think our handling is closer to 3 than it is to Motorsport 7, for example. But I think we're always working on it. And if people think that we just think, okay, we've got car handling, that's in the bag. We'll work on other things.
Yeah,
that's not the case. We have a really talented, hard-working team who work on car handling for 2 years. Just always looking at the what we've got, how we can improve things, how we can basically make the cars feel better when you've got the pad in hand or even when you're on the wheel.
Yeah, I noticed from my opinion that the cars feel a lot more reactive and more sharp than how they did in Horizon 3. Yeah. Oh, one thing I wanted to know is, what is the difference, and also for people that may not know on there, between your new quality versus performance mode that you have in terms of settings?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about the 1X version here. Yes. The 1X version offers quality and performance. Quality runs at a locked 30 frames per second, but it runs in 4K with all of the graphical bells and whistles that we can apply using the power of that console. Yeah. And that's kind of, I guess, your classic Horizon mode. Horizon games have always been 30 frames per second. Yeah. And always had that really sort of fluid, buttery smooth feel. However, when we did the 1X enhanced version of Forza Horizon 3 back at the start of this year, we heard from a lot of fans that they'd love to have the option to run in 60 frames per second, so we've given them that option. It's the performance option, so that reduces the resolution back to 1080. I think the guys have done an amazing job of replicating as much of the visual quality from the quality mode in performance mode as they can at that reduced resolution. There's a couple of things that get switched off just to make sure that we're running at a locked 60 frames per second. But that's basically the two modes, and you can choose between them.
If you were to go from the 4K mode to the 60 frames, would you notice any, would there be any little changes? Like if you looked at the road detail, would you notice certain gravel bits taken away or anything like that?
No, not really. So what you would lose would be, for example, shadows cast from headlights. So that is a quality mode only sort of feature on Xbox One X. And that's removed in the performance mode, just to keep that 60 frames running really smooth. Little things like that. There's a couple of things that you might not look at and identify as screen space ambient occlusion, for example. But little things that are removed, again, just to keep performance, because that's what people are telling us is they want a lot 60 frames per second, and that's what we've gone for.
That's good to know. I was wondering, for any of the pre-existing cars that have been from the previous Forza games added to the game, if you guys did any improvement on the engine sounds or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so that's again like our car handling team. There's a bunch of new stuff that our audio team have to do. There are a bunch of new cars. The Senna, for example, we need to go out and record that car on track, and McLaren were brilliant in letting us do that. But in addition to the new stuff, they are always going out and trying to do new on-track recordings. We have a pretty well-established sort of technique for going out on an airfield. We strap microphones to every single bit of the car, and we record it doing right up and down the rev range, under stress, doing all the sort of the things you'd expect to do in that kind of recording session. And what that does is just builds out our library with new, absolutely up-to-date sort of state-of-the-art engine recordings and car recordings that we're able to apply across the game.
That's good. So kind of along the lines of a new car is added to the game, could you describe a simple, or I guess a toned down, because I'm sure it's a lot of work, of if you were to add a new car to the game, what's that process like? Where do you begin?
So it's not a simple process by any stretch. It takes 6 months from start to finish to get a car into the game. Once you've got the reference photography, or you've got the CAD data, or you've got the laser scanning, it all depends on what the car is, how rare it is, how expensive it is, who owns it, or what access we can get to it. It depends on all those things whether we do any one of these, which reference method we use. So the hard thing for us now in a lot of cases is finding cars. If it's a new car, no problem at all. We have great relationships with the manufacturers. But a lot of times now, we have a list of cars that we're just searching for, and they are rare, or there's only one of them left, or they're in private collections or museums, or maybe even they're out racing. We've waited at the end of a Dakar rally stage for a car to finish so that we could get a couple of hours with it to take photography and then go build that car. So we go out, we get our reference, and then it basically gets built over a period of 6 months. Lots and lots of review stages, feedback on the car. Obviously, ultimately, it goes for manufacturer approval, because they want to make sure that we are reflecting their cars as perfectly as we can do. So big, long, expensive process. It's something that we are doing constantly.
Another thing was, a lot of people were trying to look for, I think they're just trying to measure the map, and I was wondering, is the map larger or smaller than Horizon 3?
So it is pretty much exactly the same. So there's a number of different metrics that you could use to measure world size. It's not just as simple as area.
Exactly.
Although in terms of area, it's exactly the same size as Horizon 3. In terms of drivable area, so not just area, but where you can actually drive within the world, it's a little bit bigger. And in terms of road length, it is, I think it's within a kilometre either way of the length of roads that we had. Actually, I tell a lie, I think it's more than we had in Forza Horizon 3. I think it's technically bigger. It's not sufficiently bigger that we'd say it's this many times bigger, but it is certainly bigger than Horizon 3.
And as you said before, you have to like work on seasons for each layer of it.
So it becomes virtually 4 different worlds of the same size.
Yeah. I just love the accessibility of it. I find like as playing the game, whenever I have to set a checkpoint and get to a race, I find myself cutting across through it a lot, and more than like the previous maps. And I know, but the previous ones have been very open just as much as this one. But I feel like this one is one of the most. I think a lot of walls are breakable now that usually weren't before, so you could find yourself getting straight across.
So two things there. I think you're smart to pick up on it. You're right. Australia was really open, but it still had a lot of things that could stop you dead. Particularly if you think about the rainforest area, sort of in the Australia map. It got to the point, certainly for me, maybe for you too, where you were like, I'm just going to stick on the road because I don't, if I go in there, I'm going to be picking up trees. What we've done this time, we spent a long time on it, is trying to make sure that the language of our trees and their thickness is really clear, so that when you're approaching them at speed, you can kind of make an instantaneous assessment and go, okay, that's thick, so it's going to stop me, or that's thin, so I'm going to break it. It's actually much easier to drive through a forest now.
Exactly, I noticed that. I think that's almost it. My final question is one just on customization, and I'm not sure if you could say it, but I was just wondering if you guys would possibly have any, because in FM7 you added customization as kind of a DLC with drift suspension under that. Do you think that there is a possible chance that there will only be customization DLC in this game, or anything added onto the game in terms of customization wise?
So there's loads of stuff. The drift suspension thing that came to Motorsport is in Horizon 4 already. As an example of that sort of thing, that's the sort of thing which I think we'll absolutely be looking to build into our sort of live experience going forward. Last night on Inside Xbox we talked about what the first month in the game looks like, and then also what the update that's coming at the end of that month, so the end of spring, in game, so after 4 weeks. What that update is going to bring. It's going to bring features, it's going to bring new sort of character customization options, it's going to bring a new Horizon story. On an ongoing basis, that's the kind of frequency that we're going to be bringing big updates. Some of it is going to be new features that we want to bring to the game to give you more stuff to do. Some of it is going to be customization stuff. Some of it's going to be other stuff that the community asks for.
Exactly.
It could be quality of life, it could be accessibility, it could be flow improvements, or it could just be things that you guys really want to see in the game. And we have a team now whose job is just to keep building this game, keep evolving this game in a conversation with our fans. Yeah,
because I find that just including myself and then just kind of being around, I feel like a lot of the passionate auto enthusiasts of the game really care about the customization and the upgrade shop to the game. So it's it'd be good to know if there's more to look forward to with that, and that's really good.
So we will I hope do a good job of keeping informing you what our roadmap looks like, what's coming and when, and like I say, having a dialogue to make sure that we're building the game you guys want.
Yeah, but that's sick. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys got filled in, but thank you guys.